Hello, everyone, and welcome to Griplock Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor. And first and foremost, just my levels a little bit there. First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.
We are releasing this on Turkey Day, T-Day.
Today
Today is actually Wednesday for us, so we're about to head out of town for a little Thanksgiving. But I wanted to go ahead and get that out there. As we head into the holiday season, exciting time. Also, we'll talk about some Black Friday deals that we're going to have going on at the end of this show, so be sure to stay around for that. But to kick off the show, we had something big happen this week, which is disc golf. Why did I say it like that? It looked like I had some Z's in it. Disc golf. Disc golf is finally on ESPN.
ESPN on a Tuesday at 8 p.m. too.
Yeah, like a good time.
Yeah.
ESPN 2. So if you want to be super technical about it.
So it's second place. That's a main network.
Yeah, that's a very main network. It was big time. In my opinion, we saw a little bit bigger reaction.
Yeah, I think the exposure was better. More people have access to ESPN2 than CBS Sports Network, and also more people are likely to just like click on it while scrolling.
Yeah.
It's more like it's right there below ESPN.
Yeah, it's right there. Like it's a channel that more people are going to just kind of stumble upon.
Yeah.
Versus awesome. CBS Sports, I feel like it's a lot harder to access. It was a great thing. You know, it was a main network that disc golf got on. It was sick, so I don't want to put that down in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But being on ESPN2 was a bigger deal. And we saw that a little bit in reactions from Twitter and stuff, as I'll get into in a second. But just right out the gates, what were your thoughts on the broadcast itself?
Yeah, so the broadcast, obviously Jomez, some people were confused on this. Jomez was the ones behind the production.
Yes.
As far as the way things are cut, I'm sure ESPN had a say in that. And another thing to mention, even though Jomez was the ones creating the graphics, those graphics packages they're using are ESPN graphics for a lot of them. Like the scoreboards you're seeing, a lot of those are ESPN's standard graphics they use for a lot of things. Is the same way for CBS. You know, they throw their colors and their logos and a lot of their font. I didn't
see much of the ESPN logo last night.
No,
a lot less than the CBS Sports logo.
Right. Yes.
Which that wasn't a big thing either way. That was something I noticed.
It's true. I thought, obviously, because it's Jomez, it was filmed wonderfully. And everything in that aspect was good, which is good because we need to, like, people that are tuning in and seeing it for the first time, they need to be able to see the sport filmed the best way possible.
Yeah.
I liked that they went back and forth between the men and the women.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was perfect. Biggest complaint was that it was pretty jumpy, but I think it's because they went very heavy on player profiles, more than CBS did. Not only did every player have an intro off the tee, but did every player have a player profile or close to it?
At least close to it.
Yeah, a lot of them did.
The majority. Everyone in like actual contention did.
Yeah, which the player profiles were hit or miss for me. Some of them seemed very surface level and kind of just like they threw it in there. They weren't produced poorly, but just like the content was eh. Some of them I thought were decent. I thought some of them I actually learned some things. It was good to see. You can kind of start seeing like which players have good composure on camera and like are like marketable. I think as disc golf ends up on more big networks, it's going to be very easy to figure out if you're manufacturers or other people getting into the sport, like which players are the ones that can really market themselves and just be like personalities on the camera. But overall, I would say the coverage, people are going to get tied up in like, oh, it was jumping, it was a little tough to follow. But the bottom line is it was filmed well. It's still like top-notch produced disc golf. And the exposure, like the people that are just tuning in and just stumbling upon disc golf, which is really what this is all about. This is not really about, like, these broadcasts they're big for the disc golf community. Like, we'd love to be able to watch disc golf on main
ESPN
network someday.
Or CBS or whatever.
But we know where Jomez and the disc golf network are.
Yeah, we know where to find it.
We know where to find it. The non-disc golfers is what this is really about, is like how many of them can we draw into the sport?
Yeah.
And for them, they're just going to tune in. They're going to see, hey, this is the ESPN quality broadcast sort of graphics I'm used to. Like, that looks professional. The filming is excellent because Jomez is great at what they do. And I can see these players who I've never heard of them, and I get to learn a little bit about them, and I get to see them play these shots. They don't necessarily care as much about, I missed a hole here, missed a hole there. They might not even care about the winner. They're just like learning probably as it's going on.
Yeah, I think part of what some people were like talking about online with like the jumping around is because of how we're used to consuming disc golf content.
Exactly.
When you're used to consuming golf content, I feel like you're already used to not seeing every single shot the leader's taking.
It depends. If they're on the final day, you're gonna see every shot that lead group.
But you're going to be jumping around a lot.
You will. The big thing is in ball golf too. There's more time between shots because there's a longer walk.
And in disc
you're
golf,
hitting
we're
it
just
3 times as far.
We're just not used to yet jumping around that much. So I think that's where the disc golf community. I saw some people saying that like, why are we jumping around too much? It's hard to follow. It's this or that.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're looking at it from a non-disc golfer's point of view, it really wasn't that hard to follow.
Right.
It was, you got to see the scores. You got to, it really wasn't like, you wouldn't have noticed it. I saw some people complaining about some audio, like the audio in the commentary booth and the audio levels. Personally, there's something going on my mic. I don't know what he was popping. Probably because I don't have the pop filter.
Yeah.
Shocker there, Hunter. Great idea. Personally, I didn't notice it on my TV.
I didn't think the levels were bad. I did notice, I thought, and I was listening to it just like AirPods headphones on a laptop. So like, whatever, take that for whatever it is. But I thought the commentary audio, I think it was either Germinate, one of the two, and it wasn't their fault probably. One of them sounded a little bit rough. Little grainy, maybe a little echoey. Now, was it like game changing and like, the thing is, as disc golfers, we are looking at this coverage with like a magnifying glass because we want it to be the best product it can be for the rest of the world. So we are like listening super close and looking super close. We are very particular about it.
When everybody in reality, everyone's just watching.
Everybody else is just flipping through their TV like, oh, there's disc golf. Let's watch that for a few minutes. They're not like, oh my goodness, that audio is slightly off or something. So you got to remember that too. We are just being very nitpicky because we are trying to give them the best product possible.
And that's what I was gonna say. I saw a lot of people like talking about it in our Discord. Was the main part to see the audio was in our Discord.
Yeah,
and on just like my TV. And probably the way 98% of people were watching this, like people who stumbled upon it, which was a TV in a living room across the room from it, it sounded great. Yeah. It looked great. I was trying to listen because I saw someone say like, made some comment about the commentary, and I was like, what are they talking about? So I like tried to pay attention to it. It still sounded fine to me. And then the levels thing, I tried to pay attention to it. It still sounded fine to me. So if I was watching it the way I feel like the majority of people were, which is just like a TV in your living room, and I, as a disc golfer and as someone trying to like find what these people are talking about so I can talk about it on this podcast here, and I couldn't find it, your day-to-day viewer of just like flipping through, none of that affected
exactly
them. None of it at all.
Exactly.
The only thing that I personally noticed was the graphics being that it was the like putting for birdie type graphic.
Right. Right.
Those graphics just didn't look to the same standard as the other graphics in it, but I think it was because those are more like their golf type graphics.
Right.
Like it wasn't, and that was again like.
Well, something interesting is that ESPN does not broadcast much golf these days.
Yeah,
they used to have a bit more. I think they used to get like the opening rounds of certain majors, like they'd have like the first 2 rounds before it would go to CBS, but like. CBS is like the big dog in golf, so you could expect them to have like the
different
best graphics, right? ESPN, who even knows the last time they've updated their golf graphics package. So like, I thought they were good enough. They didn't look quite as nice as the CBS ones.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing to me was like, it just didn't look like it matched up with the Pro Tour, like the graphics that were happening before like transition. But I think again that's just because I'm looking at it from a disc golf perspective of like I'm used to the graphics being at the bottom and all this stuff. So when it popped up, it caught my attention. It had all the information right. There was nothing like that. It just didn't look as what I expected it to.
I will say it was very surreal watching disc golf and having the ESPN ticker.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Like I'm like, this is crazy. Like that
now about the ticker. One thing I did see that was brought up was the commentary of Nate and Germ talked about the $20,000 for the winner. over and over and over. Because as a disc golfer, that's huge.
Yeah,
you can't,
I saw this conversation.
Yeah, you can't, as a disc golfer and a disc golf fan, you can't downplay that. That's massive, and everyone's excited about it. So, like, I get why they were talking about it so much, but it did kind of, if you're a non-disc golf viewer, it might have, like, lowered the legitimacy of the sport a little bit. Which is sad because this is, like, the biggest purse we've ever had.
Right.
But when you see, like, LeBron James, or I forget who it was, at one point there was, like, $150 million contract coming across the bottom at the same time that they're saying they're playing for $20,000. And that was where it was like, if you're like a viewer just watching, or, you know, some of them probably watched and were like, oh, wow, these guys are going to throw Frisbees and get $20,000. And other people are probably like, yeah, I thought the sport was a joke. They're playing for $20,000.
Yeah. I will say they should have just kept mentioning 130,000.
Yeah, the overall purse.
And they probably should have talked about it as a bonus instead of winnings.
Yeah.
I think that also makes it seem like, oh, it's just like a bonus onto their season. Because these guys, I mean, let's be honest, these top players are making a lot more than $20,000 in a year. Like, it's a lot of money for one purse, but like,
a whole lot.
The sport, it's a little bit of a misrepresentation of where the sport is. Yeah. Purses are kind of behind what manufacturers can pay still. So that still hasn't really caught up to where purses are an accurate representation to where like a top player in the world takes in 20 G. Like, it's a lot of money, but it's not like crazy life changing. Yeah. You know, but we see purses closer to 100,000 then it's more like that.
But I think that's the thing is like, that's why when I brought it up, like, I don't want to downplay how big of a moment this was for disc golf, because in the disc golf world, 20,000 is unheard of, especially 20,000 for FPO.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me? The previous highest was like $5,000. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like, this is a big storyline for disc golf. So I think that's why it was emphasized so much. But then when you look at it from an outside sports world perspective,
right,
that just kind of puts us in our spot.
Right. That broadcast needs to be more tailor made for the outside audience.
Yeah, but I don't think that, again, I think this is all just looking at it with a super critical eye to where
still a success.
The average viewer didn't care about any of that. And speaking of average viewer, Ultiworld went through and compiled the Twitter reactions. You thought I was going to say the ratings.
Yeah, I was like, no way.
We tried finding the ratings on like Nielsen and wherever, and we couldn't find it. So
not yet. They'll be there eventually, I think.
The only ones I could find were from like November 9th. So I feel like in a few weeks from now, they'll come out.
Hopefully.
As soon as it comes out, I know Ultiworld and other people will be writing articles, and we'll talk about it.
Right.
It does seem as though this one will be releasing ratings, whereas the the CBS Sports one obviously never released their ratings.
Right.
So I think it will be exciting to see that. But I can already tell you that the ESPN2 one definitely got more viewership because of Twitter. If you went on Twitter last night and you just searched disc golf, a lot, if not even the majority of conversations that were happening were from non-disc golfers about like stumbling onto disc golf.
Yeah, it was awesome.
To the point that I was like, we might actually get on trending. Like this is, so I was constantly checking the trending list. It never happened, but Ultiworld compiled a bunch of tweets reacting to disc golf being on ESPN2. So I'm gonna read off some of them. One of them, this first one's from Bubba Watson, which is probably the most notable player or person I feel like to this pop filter thing. It's killing me, man. It's over there. I almost want to just go grab it. This is probably the most notable person to point it out. He said, watching at Disc Golf Pro Tour, so he tagged him in it. Big thing first. Watching the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship on ESPN2, these guys and girls are good. Too many trees and water for me. I think I'll stick to quote-unquote ball golf, as they like to call it. So that was Bubba Watson. He put it down on Twitter, and he also made a specific post about it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which, personally, I think the Instagram's a little bigger because that's like takes up space on your feed, whereas Twitter, takes up space on your feed, but people tweet about a lot more random stuff than you put on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Which, before we get into much of the rest, I want to know a little rabbit trail on here. What do you think of, because he pointed it out in this, but what do you think of people in disc golf referring to golf as ball golf? This has nothing to do with the broadcast, but since he brought it up in that tweet, I thought it was an interesting
Yeah, no,
take.
I don't mind it. I do it just because, if I'm like talking to somebody who, it's one of those things you almost have to like switch back and forth, because like if I'm talking to somebody that is like more inclined in their brain towards golf being ball golf, then like of course I'm just gonna say golf. Like I grew up watching golf, playing golf. So the bottom line is the game of golf was originally ball golf. Like it's not like we stole the name. It's not like there's always been two. So yeah, I think within the disc golf community, it makes sense. Like I call it ball golf because like, not because I'm some elitist that thinks, well, you need to call it ball golf because you can't just call it golf because golf needs to be more inclusive. Well, no, golf was invented with a ball and a club. Like that is the game, but it makes it easier to understand which one I'm talking about when I switch in between, especially on a podcast like this. If we want to talk about things from, the PGA Tour and things like that, we will refer to it as ball golf so that you're not listening like, wait, was he talking about disc golf or ball golf there?
Yeah.
So I think it's useful, but like not necessary if you're talking to somebody who doesn't know.
My thing is, I refer to ball golf as golf simply because I never refer to disc golf as golf.
Right.
Like you're never gonna hear me in a conversation with anyone be like, "Oh, I went and played a round of golf earlier today." And I'm talking about disc golf.
I almost hear people say more like they're gonna go play disc than just say golf. Like I'd never hear that.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, I don't think it's a big thing either way.
No.
I don't think it matters.
No.
Ball golf, disc golf, whatever. Or ball golf versus golf. I don't think it's a big enough thing that we need to be like, oh my word, pitchforks, everyone who says ball golf's wrong. But I don't think, like on the podcast, I see what you're saying because it could get confusing.
Yeah.
Because there are people that call, like if they're going to go play a round of golf, they're talking about disc golf. Mm-hmm. I'm just not one of those people. I never call it golf. So to me, I never refer, and I try not to, or like if I do, it's just whoever I'm with, but I never really refer to ball golf as ball golf. I just call it golf. Because like if I'm saying golf, that's what I'm referring to.
Right.
But I did see some people like responding to Bubba Watson's tweet about that. I even saw something in the disc golf debate group talking about that. And so I thought that it was worth at least bringing up because he did say, I will stick to quote unquote ball golf as they like to call it, which I thought was like I just thought it was interesting in his tweet.
I don't think it was a jab.
No, I don't think it was a jab at all. I just thought it was interesting that for like, I'll stick to quote unquote ball golf as they like to call it. Like it was interesting that he knew it enough to put it in there.
What a fascinating like podcast guest.
Bubba Watson?
Yeah. He's an electric personality too.
He'd be cool. Cause he plays disc golf. I don't know if a lot of people know that. He even responded, I think, was it the Pro Tour? I think the Pro Tour like told him they'll pay his entry fee if he came out and played an event or something like that on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he responded.
I'd hope they would. I'd hope they'd pay more than his entry fee. I hope they'd pay a lot of money.
Brody actually responded to that and said we should have a Pro-Am golf disc golf challenge. Like at a Pro Tour event as like a, display type thing. But he responded back to the Pro Tour and said, I think I'll stick to the disc golf course I designed at this baseball stadium because it's wide open, no trees, and plus I get as many mulligans as I want since I was the designer, is like how I responded. Basically just kind of joking with him. But, people do forget that Bubba Watson, at least plays disc golf occasionally.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, never forget it. Another tweet here, I should be grading, but instead I'm watching disc golf on ESPN. This is nuts. Do they not understand physics? How are they doing this in the woods? That was from Orla Hart. The commentary is great. Never played the game, but now intrigued. These guys know how to talk it up for beginners. That guy has a complicated username. I dare say disc golf on ESPN looks harder than regular golf, from Joyce Thinnington. Having watched disc golf on ESPN, I understand what those ball golf folks are always carrying on about. The shot making, the precision, the drama. Mario Arias Jr. So, as you can tell from those tweets, and that's just ones that Ultra World pulled out, we saw several more than that. Those are probably some of the more interesting ones, but as you can tell from those tweets, there really was a much larger reach with this broadcast because when CBS Sports, I don't remember seeing anyone on Twitter that wasn't a disc golfer talking about it being on TV. Mm-hmm. Whereas this, there was a lot of people, some people making fun of disc golf. Sure, we expected that.
Enough.
Some people comparing us to cornhole. Expected that.
Hurts.
But there was a lot of people that were just generally talking about disc golf for the first time, like just discovering the sport. Some people even saying, "Wow, this actually looks like a ton of fun. I'm gonna buy some discs."
Yeah.
Like I literally saw that tweet.
I really liked kind of what you're talking about with the cornhole comparison. I really liked in the intro, they do their best to explain like what disc golf is, and I thought the intro was really cool. I was getting goosebumps. But I liked how like Paige had some line about like everybody likes to play frisbee on the beach, but trying to say like we treat this more as a sport and so on, and like I thought that was a cool line. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting because that is one thing that's difficult is like separating the frisbee is like more widely known as a recreational toss around object.
Yeah.
So it's just difficult.
Well, I think that was also in the intro. I think it was in the intro, or like maybe in the like commentary intro. At some point, they talked about disc golf being played with specially designed discs,
Right,
which
yeah.
I think further helped separate it.
Specialized. The pros throw specialized discs or something like that. Yeah.
Which helped further separate it from just the frisbee market. But I did think that the commentary from like a disc golfer's point of view wasn't like irritating, but it was like very like, okay, we get it, they're throwing a fairway, we get it. But from a non-disc golfer's point of view, which is what the commentary was geared towards,
very
it was very educational and helpful because it showed you, A, there's putters, mid-ranges, drivers,
Right.
etc. B, look how far they're throwing these things. And there's several holes where they would talk about the fact that Paige Pierce is throwing her putter, whereas Haley King is throwing a fairway driver, and so on and so forth. And they would talk about the flight of it, and they broke it down to where, like, someone in that said, like, if you were watching it for the first time, you like really felt engaged in it, which I thought was crucial. They did the same in the CBS Sports one, but I think it was more noticed here because there was more non-disc golfers watching.
Yes.
I think, in general, we've touched on pretty much all the points that I wanted to touch on with the broadcast, but I think in general last night was a great success for the sport of disc golf. I think the only thing that's left to see is, was it enough of a success for ESPN2 that they bring it back?
Yeah, I'm very curious to know what next season holds for, well, hopefully just having a full schedule for starters.
True.
And then, if we can, what do networks want, if they want anything. I get the feeling that as these networks learn more, if they are still interested, like the very clear cut choice is to jump on the back of USDGC.
I feel like that'd be the easiest
if you
to produce
if you do your research as like an ESPN guy there's somebody threw it on their desk, say, hey, looking at this disc golf, what should we be filming? I mean, it's very clear that they're going to want to film the
USDGC and Worlds.
Yeah,
those are gonna be the two. Like, they'll look at statistics on YouTube and see that those are
Worlds has the
most
catchiest
watched
title, but as far as how events are run, USDGC and the Pro Tour finale are probably the two most marketable.
Yeah, I still think we're I still think we're a good ways away from live disc golf being on a network.
Right.
I think that we've kind of explored this option, and it works, of post-producing it. The only thing that's not ideal with that is that as more people get into the sport, more people are going to be watching it live. And so therefore, more people are going to be watching on the Disc Golf Network, on Jomez, on Central Coast, on Gatekeeper, whoever it may be.
Yeah.
So by the time it gets to ESPN or CBS Sports or whoever picks it up, then you're going to have already seen it. So I think that's the only downside to the way we're doing it, but I could see them trying that a few more times before they decide to try to, because I don't even want to think through the logistics of, getting the live broadcasting ESPN crew out there.
Yeah, it would take ESPN's crew.
Yeah, basically. It's going to take, it would take them, disc golf would have to be big enough to be worth the type of investment they'd have to make of probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, I feel like, to get them out there. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see next year kind of how this all develops. I think the next step would be for it to be something that like slowly got talked about on SportsCenter more.
Yeah.
Like,
highlights and
even not even just highlights, but just like checking in with the Pro Tour standings or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't think it'll be covered drastically, but like if it's like a once a week, like, let's check out what's going on in the Disc Golf Pro Tour. That would be huge, obviously, for a number of reasons. But I feel like that might be a more realistic next step that disc golf will take before full-on coverage comes.
Yeah. It's tough to know where disc golf falls because there are a lot of bigger sports than disc golf that get less attention than that. Like skateboarding, a lot of your, I don't know what the category is, like X Games type sports, for example, snowboarding, skiing, skateboarding, whatever that. Like, those are examples of sports that are way bigger than disc golf in the grand scheme of things, but don't get a lot of attention on ESPN except for during like the Olympics, the X Games, and whatever it might be. It's tough to figure out, and even like, a lot of like Major League Soccer. Here's a good example. Like Major League Soccer is just starting to climb into the main attention span of ESPN.
Yeah.
So like it's tough to it's an uphill battle to get to like where you earn a spot over the NBA and the NFL are like the two top dogs, because even hockey gets shoved to the side a lot, and these are leagues that have been on forever.
Yeah,
and
I think
huge. It's tough.
One thing will never ever overtake any of the major league sports.
Sure, no.
Soccer, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, like those, even tennis, even regular golf. I feel like disc golf will never eclipse the popularity and coverage, at least not in our lifetime. But I could see it eclipsing like a skateboarding or a snowboarding coverage-wise, simply because I think it's more interesting to watch. Because in skateboarding, you need to know the technical details to see how sick a trick is.
Very true.
Because there's like, realistically, to people watching, once you get to like a tray flip, which is just like a 360 kick flip, and you get past that, if you're not watching like a technical aspect, it all kind of is like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? There's like a one reaction.
Thank you for using skateboarding lingo to help them understand that somebody here knows a little bit about skateboarding.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like,
yeah.
Once you reach like a one trick, like there's a threshold. I feel like to the
it's kind of like
person,
diving. That's kind of like diving too. I think.
Whereas disc golf, there's like this amazement of watching a disc fly through the trees and soar back and forth. There's even a lot more action to watching disc golf than traditional golf.
Right. It is way easier to film than like even traditional golf. So like that it does have that going.
I just feel like the general like just flipping through the channels, people would be as it got bigger, more likely to stop and stay watching disc golf than stop and stay watching snowboarding, bowling, skateboarding,
bowling
whatever.
Can be
it may
electrifying sometimes. Though. Don't get me wrong.
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? I am. Yeah, Pete Weber was pretty fun to watch.
But you know what I mean. Where there's like some of those sports, action sports, have a certain threshold that the pros are always above, and you're just going to keep getting the same reaction. So after you watch 2 or 3 go through, if you don't know it from a technical perspective, it's like, cool. Whereas disc golf, there's always different shapes, different kicks. There's a lot more going on that
That's a good point.
Your average person can watch and be like impressed with. So with that being said, I think it's time to jump over into Trevor's Trivia. Let's see what you got for me this week.
So we've got a new game. This is a little bit of a spin off of the Price is Right game that we did.
Nice. I like that game a lot.
Yeah. So instead of doing prices, we're gonna call this one the flight number game. We're gonna keep it simple.
Ooh.
So I've got 10 Discraft molds.
Okay, at least you stuck in Discraft.
Right.
That gives me an advantage.
Exactly. Your goal, you're gonna guess the flight numbers, all 4 of them for each one of these molds. And your goal is to stay within 15 total points off of 10 molds.
So like 15, like each number is a point?
Each number you're
off of 1. So like if it's a 6
one.
speed and I go 7 speed, that's a 1
That's
point?
a point. This is going to be very difficult. I'm banking on the fact that you'll probably be able to guess some of these right on the dot. So that there's others, I don't think you're going to get any wrong by more than 3.
The thing that, are you including like 0.5s in this? Like a negative 1.5?
No, there's no 0.5s on any of these.
Good. Maybe it's just MVP that does that. There's some company, or Trilogy definitely
does. Discraft does it in there.
There's some like the stability
number.
rating. That's right, like 0.5. There's several companies that like do that, and that always throws me off.
So with that being said,
Glide's going to be the hardest, I feel like.
Yeah, Glide's going to be tricky, but the thing about Glide is
it's either 4 or 5 or.
Well, if it's a putter, it can be 3.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's not like you have -1 to positive whatever.
All right, so we're going to start off with some putters. We're going to start with the Challenger.
3402.
3402. It is actually 2302.
That's a 2-speed?
Yeah.
2302.
So you're 2 points off there.
2 points already. Good start, Hunter. Way to go.
Next, we have the Luna.
I feel like it's the same as the Challenger. 2302. Is it 3? It's 3 something, isn't it? No, it's not a 3-speed. It's the same speed as the Challenger, surely. 2402.
3303.
Oh.
So wait, you're 3
What's
points
the logic
off?
there?
I know. It makes sense as a 3-speed. It's way faster than a Challenger. It goes way further.
I feel like
I don't
speed
have
should be
a
based
problem.
on rim width, right?
It isn't. It isn't. There's a problem with flight numbers that might be exposed during this guessing problem.
I was gonna say,
But
Challenger
I don't
and
mind the
Luna.
4 glide, but 4 glide doesn't really exist on putters. And also, yeah, the 3 fade surprised me.
Yeah, because that shouldn't be right.
So what? You're 3 points off there because you went 2.
Yeah, so I'm 5 off total.
Okay, not
Great
a great
start.
start. Next, we have the drone.
I
It
feel like
gets
this
harder.
one-
I thought you were gonna nail the first couple.
I feel like drone is. Let me just. Okay, 5 speed.
Yes.
It has to have low glide. It's got to. So I'm gonna go 5.3.
Yes. Correct.
0.3.
It's 1.4.
-1 or +1?
+1.
Who puts positive numbers in their flight numbers?
That's an old one. So you're
Come
2 points off
on.
there. You're doing well. I mean, you had the difference of 3 between the turn and fade there, so you were close. So next up we have the soul.
I should know this.
You
It's
should
a
know this because it's in your bag.
4. It's
Yeah.
definitely a 4 speed.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 are -3.1. Is that right? I just need the glide.
It's -3.0. So you're off 1 there.
So 4.5 -3.0.
That's correct. So you're off 1 there. Well done. You're up to 8
Dang,
already.
dude.
You're about halfway there. You're about 4 in here.
Yikes.
So next we have the zombie.
Zombie's a 6 speed.
Yes.
6.5 -1.2.
It's 6.4 -1.1. So you're off 2 there.
This is tough.
I know.
I never look at flight numbers, and it is very evident right now. I just pick up a disc and go.
This one you
feel
should
stable.
know because we've just sorted through and put them up. It's the impact. You just
I know it's a 6 speed. I know
Yeah.
there's a -3 and a 1.
There you go. So now you just need the glide.
Yeah, that's the part I don't know.
Think about it though.
It should have a lot of glide. It'd be like 6.6
There
-3
you
1.
go. You got
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that 6 was kind of a joke.
There you got it. Yeah, no, it's got 6 glide. It's that you don't see 6 glide barely
No.
ever. So there you go. All right, next we have the Stratus.
It's also a 6 speed.
Wrong.
It's a 7 speed.
Wrong.
It's a 5 speed.
Yeah, it's
That's
a 5
baloney.
speed that they
Absolute.
they call it like
baloney.
an extra long driver.
You cannot tell me that's a 5 speed. If that's a 5, look at how sharp the Stratus edge is. It's literally is the Sting on that list?
Sting is a 6 speed.
They're literally like the same mold. Put them next to each other. Someone in the comments put the Sting
This
next
is
to a
you
Stratus.
gotta. It's old though. It's old.
Discraft didn't used to have flight numbers. Discraft used to have one singular flight number. Flight numbers are relatively new to
It's
Discraft,
true.
so it's not old.
All right. Well, anyways, it's
5, -3, 1.
it's 5.4 -4.1.
This is stupid.
So you're off 3
I hate
there.
this game.
2, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're at 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you're at 13. So you have 3 discs left, and you only have 2 points to give up.
All right.
Hopefully, somebody listening is like actually. I was thinking about giving you 20, but I gave you
20
15.
discs?
Yeah,
Oh,
20.
15. I was like, holy cow, Trevor.
Next, we have the Undertaker. Here's one you should get right on the dot.
You know
probably.
I don't know that.
This
I
is
feel like it's a 9 speed.
Yeah.
5 glide.
Yeah. Come on.
-1.
Yes.
2.
There you go.
Oh!
You got it. So you've got 2 right on the dot.
That one made a lot of sense.
All right. Hey, you've got 2 points to give up with 2 discs to go. This actually ended up being perfect now.
Here we go.
This is going to be tough. These next 2 are both going to be tough. The Crank SS.
12, 5, -3, 2.
He nails it.
Let's go!
How?
I used to have that disc a lot, and I was so perplexed by the flight numbers.
Wow.
I flew through it, and I was like,
The way it's like he just went into the zone. He's like, 12,
well,
5,
just like I was
3, 2.
thinking of. I used to have a first run Crank SS, and it had flight numbers
Well,
on
here
it.
you
I
go.
think.
Here you go. You got 2 points to give
2
up.
points.
The Punisher is your final disc.
12, 5, 0, 2.
12 5 0 3.
But I did
He
it.
did it.
I did it, folks.
Wow, that was an impressive comeback.
Wow, what a comeback story.
Well done.
I knew the drivers were going to be easier for me than the putters.
I thought I was gonna like Crank SS. Like who knows what that does? That's awful. That's impressive.
one of the first throws over 400 the Crank SS was for me.
Just because I throw cranks, just because I throw cranks now, I can't imagine how flippy a Crank SS is.
It was a great roller disc, and I threw it in a tailwind a lot.
You'd probably like a D6.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Next.
Is that like a helicopter? Or is that? I think it's a helicopter. All right, so people in the mic probably can't even hear it. We're gonna jump over into a little talk about the collector's market. Yeah. We talked about this last week a little bit. What brought it up? Who knows? Like, who knows what brought it up? I don't remember what brought it up last week, but this week what brought it up is the 991 ESP Fierces, and there was a post on Facebook that kind of brought it to our attention via Discord, where someone posted that they bought 2 of them, of the Fierces, did not request them to be signed, and they both came signed, and they said, as a true collector, I'm very upset about this. So then it raised the question, it brought it back. Why does signatures lower the value of a disc? And so that post that I was just referencing actually ended up being deleted. So I couldn't go back and read through the comments for like the arguments, but when I searched back in the disc golf debate group and some other groups, I found posts from like September, October range that were talking about this very thing. And so I went through their comments to get the logic behind it. But first off, I want to know, what is your take on the fact that even like in this case, a Paige Pierce disc with Paige Pierce's signature is worth less than a Paige Pierce disc without Paige's signature? This
is an anomaly, and okay, but I'm pretty sure this is an anomaly because I'm almost positive. Matter of fact, I am positive that like a jersey, if it's signed by that person, way more valuable. Like a baseball, sign it, worth way more. Signatures carry value in other sports is the bottom line, which the baseball example is like that baseball's worth nothing. A Major League Baseball, whatever, it's signed by a player, it's now worth something. So it's the signature that carries the value. Why in disc golf do signatures not carry value? I think it's because it's for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a little bit easier to obtain signatures in disc golf. I think signings are pretty common. So I think that's a thing. Disc golfers aren't quite big enough yet. Like there are people like Paul Macbeth, like, and the top pros of the world. If you see Ken Climo walking around, like they'll starstruck disc golfers, you know. But they're not quite larger than life.
They won't starstruck people who don't watch disc
right.
golf,
They're
like
not,
a LeBron James.
They're not quite larger than life yet, in the sense that maybe that has something to do with it. But the thing is, collectors are looking at it like just ink on the disc. They want the disc in the most pristine condition. But really, the collectors are misvaluing things, and the collectors are the ones who they're buying these things and deciding the market. So it's up to them, really. And I don't. Like, if Paige Pierce signs that disc, like, it's like Paige Pierce, the person whose name is on that disc, and it was her accomplishment that even made that disc happen. She interacted with it herself and put her signature on it. It's got a personalized touch from the actual athlete on it. How on earth does that devalue the disc? That should for sure. I can understand, for one thing, ink in a situation where somebody just wrote their phone number on a disc, of course it devalues it.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody who's not that good signs a disc, like a pro that's lesser known. Maybe, that devalues it. But when somebody not only who is the best, she's the best female player in the world
to ever exist.
I
think we can.
Yeah.
I think that's no argument.
Yeah, and it's her disc. How 20 years down the road, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, you got Paige Pierce's signature on her disc. She was the greatest player of all time.
I think that what you just said there is the key. So when I was looking at this,
they're not. You're thinking they're not looking down for the long road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at this, I was just as perplexed as you. I'm like, this makes no sense because like, if I had a LeBron James signed jersey, it's worth 50 times a non-LeBron James signed jersey. Yeah. Whatever it may be. I think the keys here are accessibility. So right now, what's rare is the disc, not the signature.
Yeah.
A LeBron James jersey is not rare.
That's a good
point. The LeBron
point.
James signature is rare.
That's a good point.
The 991 Fierce is rare. A Paige Pierce signature is not. So that's the accessibility of players, A. B, that they're still alive. So, like, basically, this was something that was described online. They were like, in disc golf, with how accessible signatures are, signatures won't start going up in value in the collector's market until they're no longer accessible.
Until they're not signing. Yeah.
So therefore, like Ken Climo, whenever he passes on, hopefully no time soon. Yeah. Whenever that happens, any Ken Climo signature won't all of a sudden go up in value now.
Right.
Because out of nowhere, 20, 30, 40, whatever years from now it is, when his signature can no longer be gotten, then if you buy a signature, that becomes rare now. The signature is now rare. Whereas right now, if you're in Clearwater, Florida, or wherever he lives, you might be able to go to the disc golf course and run to Climo. Or if you are trying to get Paul's signature or Ricky's signature or whoever's signature, you can just go to a Pro Tour event and you're going to find them. Yeah. And you're going to get their signature.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think that's one of the key things. Actually, that is the key thing. But I think that what it brings up too is something that is going to be a hard transition for the disc golf community. As disc golf gets more mainstream, the accessibility to players is obviously going to go down. You know, that those go hand in hand.
Right.
You know, and so I think that is something that is also not being taken into account, is that like some of these players like who are currently playing or going to be playing for the next 10 years or whatever, their signature is only going to get more rare.
Yeah.
So if you can get your hands on a Paige Pierce signed disc right now, you know, 10 years from now when she's retiring, that's going to be worth more. A, because she's retiring. B, because they're going to be less accessible 10 years from now. Even 3 years from now, players are going to be less accessible than they are right now.
Yeah.
Because as the sport grows, obviously security is going to grow. Player-only areas are going to get more strict. You're not going to be able to just walk up to players while they're warming up putting.
Right.
All of that stuff's going to go out the window.
And the more spectators that there becomes in the sport,
the more crowd control.
Yeah, exactly. The less of a chance there is.
And I think that's going to be something that is very hard for disc golfers to transition into, because that's something that even me as a fan who like knows this is coming, and like I can, like, you can see the writing on the wall that as we grow and it's good for the sport, and I know where it's good for the sport, and I want that to happen, I'm still going to not like that, because like I want to be able to go to events and be like, oh, look, there's Kevin. I'm going to go talk to Kevin. Yeah. Or there's Ricky. I'm going to go say hi to Ricky. Whatever, because like you're just hanging out. You know, you're just going to a disc golf tournament, you're hanging out.
Yeah.
What's going to end up happening is they're going to have a designated warm-up area where fans are allowed to like stay back and take pictures, but that's about it. You know, you can't get a picture of you and them. And then they're going to be escorted from the warm-up area to their tee. They're going to tee off. They're going to play their 18. And then, you know, there's probably going to be some type of like bleacher type setup on 18 or whatever it may be,
right,
where you're all standing there. They'll walk through the crowd, turn their card in, and then you might be able to meet them after that. Whereas right now, you know, you're going to see them on practice days. Courses aren't closed for practice days right now. You can see them warming up. You can see them when they're walking from the warm-up area to the tee pad. Accessibility is there. And, you know, so like I can go to a tournament, and knowing some of the pros right now, I can get to talk to them whenever, and I don't feel like I'm bugging them. Whereas soon I'm going to be on this outside of the rope, unless you have a media pass or something, and you're not going to be able to talk to them.
Right.
And then you're not going to be able to do anything like that. And I think that is going to be something that new players coming into the sport are going to be like, duh, that makes a lot of sense. Like, this shouldn't be this way anyways. Players who have been in the sport for a long time, it's going to be a hard Band-Aid to rip off.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that people in disc golf like feeling like they can be buddies with the pros. Like,
yeah, it's one of the cool parts of disc golf.
And it is cool. It is cool. Like, I mean, just a few months ago when I got to film, you know, the Battle for Bedford, or the B tier we hosted, and I'm filming Barry Schultz. Like, I'm talking to Barry Schultz, like this guy who is a Hall of Famer. He's probably the second, you know, top 3 player of all time, we'll say.
Yeah.
Like, and he's just right there. Like, experiences like that are pretty cool. I mean, when I was playing at USDGC in the Dean's Cup, Ken Klima rode his bike right past
rides
us.
up to you, and he's like
just asking us
how's
what's
it going?
going
How's
on.
the tournament going?
Yeah,
I still have a signed Klima Mini because I was in the middle of my round. I was like,
yeah,
sign this.
Like, things like that just won't happen as much anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, that's just part of how it is.
That's just the growth.
Change is good.
Yeah, and there's going to be stuff like that that's just growing pains. But that was something that I was thinking of as I was reading through this. So I'm like, hey, that's a great point. That makes a lot of sense. Is like, discs aren't being made at like a huge volume right now to where that's the collectible item. Whereas once discs are less rare than the signatures, then the signatures become the collectible item. Kind of like what you were saying with the baseball. Like, a baseball you can go buy anywhere, but the signature makes it valuable.
Right.
You know, I think that's where... But, you know, where disc golf market's kind of falling apart is like, or not falling apart, but where it's significantly different is like, even a stock zone with Paul's signature, it might be worth a little bit more, but we're not talking about it being worth a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that's just the accessibility thing. And as that goes down, value will go up. All right, to wrap out this podcast, we're going to get into our final segment, which I'm pretty excited for, because this one there's a little bit of a doozy because at this point, again, I'm just trying to fool you.
Yeah.
And I'm not even. This started out as a like good way to like show our audience the rules, and it's quickly turned into I want to fool Trevor with a rules call.
Okay.
So this one has a little bit of story behind it.
All right.
So there you are.
Okay, there I am.
Tapping out your final putt and winning the MPO division by 1 stroke for your first win as a professional.
Wow. That'll never happen.
Electrifying.
Yeah.
The person chasing you.
And then I woke up.
The person chasing you on the chase card comes up to you and asks, "Hey, on hole 2 yesterday, what did you take?" And you said, "I had a 2. Turns out you were recorded as having a 3 on the scorecard from yesterday, making it a scoring error. So he claims you should be stroked the 2 penalty strokes, which, after improving your score by 1 for the birdie and then the 2 penalty strokes, put you into a tie with him, forcing you into a playoff. Whereas you say that's not the case because the scorecard was submitted yesterday and it was not called before the start of your round today. So you were allowed to start your next round without the scoring error being called. Which one of you is correct? Are you headed into a playoff or are you about to raise the trophy high above your head as the MPO champ?"
Oh, gosh. So, okay, so there's like the key point. I know if that were to happen at the end, if it would have been during that round, then for sure it's a misplay and it gets adjusted. But
you're allowed to play your next round.
I'm waiting. Yeah, you see, the problem is you throw in little sentences like that and you give me the answer.
Did I though? You played your next round.
The way you phrase it makes it seem like if you start your next round, then that last round is locked in. That's the way you're making that sound. But I'm going to go ahead and think you're being reverse psychology on me and say that, no, it's still a misplay.
Dang it.
You thought you could not outsmart me.
I tried so hard on that one.
It's still a misplay.
Yeah, so the player approaching you is correct because penalty strokes can be added until the TD declares that the tournament is over or all awards have been passed out. This is according to Rule 808.
He's about to hand the trophy to him. No! You took a birdie, not a par.
This is according to Rule 808 G.1. Penalty throws may be added or removed up until the director declares the tournament over or all awards have been distributed.
This reminds me of Michael Scott going, "I declare bankruptcy." He declares the tournament's over. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really, that's hopefully never happens. But if you find yourself being challenged,
it's going to happen.
Get ready for the playoff.
Yeah, get ready.
So that's going to wrap it up for this week's podcast. When you're listening to this, tomorrow is Black Friday. Do not forget, we have the ESP Swirly Impact exclusive run dropping on our site. We have the limited edition White Claw, which is the white version of the Dark Claw hoodie, dropping on our site. And we have a mystery apparel and disc, a mystery bundle. Basically, you buy it in your size, you'll get a disc and a t-shirt, $25 for that bundle. The disc could be anything from a baseline putter to a misprint to a Jawbreaker Wasp to even an ESP Impact to first run Hades. There's a lot of goodies in there for sure. And, some of the shirts are also pretty dope as well. So definitely check those out if you're listening and, you have time. All of those deals, the whole website will go live at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So if you try signing into our website tomorrow before then, you'll see it's been shut down. It would require a password for you to be able to get in, but it'll have in bold letters, 5 p.m. Just wait it out. At 5 p.m. once you refresh, the website will be fully published, ready for you to shop. So hopefully you guys are able to take advantage of those deals for listening to it in time, but I believe I covered all the Black Friday deals.
Yes.
So that is going to be it for this week. We will talk to you guys next week. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of the ESPN2 broadcast, what you think of the collector's market and the direction it's headed, and also let us know what your score was in Trevor's Trivia.
Yeah.
See if you beat me. Surely a lot of you did.
I don't know. You did pretty well.
I had a comeback.
Brought it back, yeah.
It was a comeback story for the ages.
All right. Well, maybe not.
We'll talk to you guys next week.